nix that, because I hit the 700 mark almost, and I hit a wall. Because perhaps my topics are controversial. Well, this one isn't going to be any less controversial. My friends, the number one grandest, largest conspiracy theory, and as we go through it, we'll see that this theory has much credible evidence to it, of all time. Bar none. JFK, take a back seat by far, which perhaps in another stream we'll talk about the circumstances behind that. Perhaps our greatest ally might have had something to do with that. And JFK talking about a dark cabal, not QAnon BS, that is behind much of our decisions that are made. And this had to do with Cuba. And look who was making a bunch of money in Cuba. Whitey Bulger was one of them. A bunch of gangsters and mobsters. And believe this, not every mafia person was an Italian. They would have us believe that. But even look at the movie Casino. The head guy, was he Italian? No, he wasn't. Now, the greatest conspiracy of all time is the creation of the character Jesus. And furthermore, Christianity by the Jewish powers in control. Much of it were Hellenized Jews in Alexandria, Egypt. I know, it might seem complicated, but it's not. Now, here are a group of people who claim descendancy or ancestry to a town, Judea, which is debatable. Now, they are occupied at this time, during the creation of Christianity, by the Roman authorities. Now, they couldn't beat them militarily. The Bar Kokhba, which is what the Maccabees story tells us, was their rebellion got squashed. Their temple razed to the ground, led by a Jewish person, and it brought in the Vespasian and the Titus Flavian dynasty, who's adopted Flavius Josephus to write the history of the Jews, which is mostly just propaganda. So we see the Jewish people still in the upper ranks of government and propaganda. We think that our news is propaganda now, or hopefully we do. That's nothing new. So, because the Jewish couldn't militarily conquer the Romans, they had to do it by subversion, by theologically conquering them. So, mainly with the help of Constantine, who I'm sure was prodded and goaded to make Christianity the official state religion, which means that if you're not part of that, you're ostracized, even killed. The martyrdom stuff about Christianity, lots of that is totally overly fabricated. So, what Christianity does, it takes the Roman, the Gaul, the German, away from their ancestral wisdom, traditions, religious practices, and inserts in a foreign god. Now, remember, the Jewish, it's an ethnic blood religion and ethnicity at the same time. which I guess is a little bit complicated, but for the sake of argument, let's just say that, because that's how. So they don't take converts. They don't encourage it. They don't proselytize. They don't evangelize. And they really give you a hard time. And if you try to convert to Judaism, I've heard people that they say that you're really never accepted. And you'll have people sit shiksa, which is or shiva, which is saying that this family member is dead to me because they married outside of our bloodline. Which also brings in a point about inbreeding. Albert Einstein married his own cousin. Infertility is very big amongst the Jewish peoples. Now, I am not generalizing, and I'm not saying all Jews are part of this great conspiracy. Of course not. I have many friends, even family members, who are Jewish. For all I know, I might have Jewish ancestors in me. I have some family from Poland, Germany. I mean, I did Ancestry, and none of it goes back to Mesopotamia, but I bet you if you did DNA searches on many Jewish people, neither does theirs. A large group were Ashkenazi, who really go back to Turkey. I digress. So, Christianity was created to get the non-Jew to worship a Jewish God without becoming Jewish themselves. Oh, but why would you create a religion to persecute you? Because all these Christians that were anti-Semitic. Because when you're persecuted, it keeps you from assimilating, marrying outside. And then it also gives you a good victim status card. It's pretty much that simple. It gets more involved and more details and more complicated. But there's the beliefs in two messiahs. The first Messiah, Moshiach ben Yosef, the Messiah, son of Joseph, Jesus, the suffering servant, which symbolizes the Pisces Virgo axis, which is the polarity, the pole of service. Then as we go into the pole of Aquarius and Leo, the conquering lion of Judah, it goes into the conquering David, Moshiach, Messiah, son of David, which is the military ruler who comes in. Now, Israel, a Jewish national state, which is totally racist, uses America right now as their strong arm. Ever since Shemaim 11, America has gone in and fought all of Israel's enemies. And they will use us up and spit us out when we've served their purpose. And collapse us because ultimately, in the eyes of these rabbis, not all, but especially the Chabad Lubavitchers, not all, they see Edom, which is Esau, which is the brother of Jacob, who's meant to be his servant, who hates Jacob because he stole his birthright. Some fictitious story that most of it is astral myth. In this case, about the twins of Castor and Pollux. One takes over the other, not the firstborn. The secondborn, the second star to rise, eventually takes over. And so they map their own national identity creation story onto an astral happenstance to give it credit as if it's ordained by the heavens. So, Edom, Esau, is America, is Germany, is white Europeans to the Jewish theological narrative. I am critical about the theologies, the religious ideologies, not the people specifically. You can't call me anti-Semitic. I have a master's in theology, an undergraduate degree in religious studies. I do this from a scholarly perspective. There's nothing I say that is hateful or supremic. Rather, what I'm doing is calling out this hate and this supremacy. So, and then Islam was created after that to fight against Christianity, so that they just wipe each other out. And then who remains at the end to take over the Holy Mount, to rebuild the third temple, so that the law shall come forth from Jerusalem, and the nations, the Goyim, shall be led from Israel. And this is being done through something called the Noahide laws, which they say are very similar to the Ten Commandments. The first one being no idol worship. Well, where does that leave the Hindus and the Buddhists? Decapitation is the penalty for breaking a Noahide law. And guess what? The Christians are seen as idol worshippers by those of the Hebrew faith's persuasion. Judaism sees Islam as less idolatrous and blasphemous than Christianity. They view the worship of Jesus as God incarnate as idol worship. And the penalty is death. And not just death, any old death, but by decapitation. And that, my friends, is the greatest conspiracy of all time, wrapped up in 12 minutes.